Here, what's up, chat? Happy Friday, February 25th, 2022. Back to back like the cover of Lethal Weapon. We are out here ready to chop up today's NBA slate for Fanduel, DraftKings, and hey, we'll keep the PrizePicks fire and flavor involved here. It is a solo dolo, so we'll have a little bit more time to dive a little bit more in depth here, but hopefully we'll come out with some winners. Last night, Nikola led the entire slate in fantasy points, 65 of them, 12 rebounds, 9 assists. I had the over 8.5. I expected a triple-double. Thankfully, got the over anyway. But shout out to him. 4 steals and a block. Sabonis tried to go blow for blow with him. 62 is in itself, 37 minutes. Who won that trade now, huh? That's a joke. No. Devin Booker, 6 steals helped him on his way to 61.25 fantasy points. 12 assists, by the way, filling in for Chris Paul as the primary ball handler there. D-Ross, big game. DeRozan, big game. Steph Curry, big game. It felt like throughout the night, once Trae Young and John Morant and those types started falling in terms of not hitting their ceiling, I was like, it's about to be a Steph night, isn't it? Well, it kind of was. 27 minutes for him, 14 assists. Shout out to Chronic. The big cat with 48.75. Jaren Jackson Jr., we talked about the range of outcomes for some blocks and steals to boost him up. He had 21-11 with 5 stocks. Will Barton, a big game out of him. Bogdan Bogdanović continues a stretch of pretty decent games in the absence of John Collins. Trae Young had his kind of floor game, still was involved assist-wise. Ayo DeSumo doing his thing, and then Clint Capella, we talked about him potentially being the most underpriced guy on the slate based on his propensity to play closer to 30 minutes without Collins in competitive games, and that came true. 17 rebounds, was a good table setter for his 40 fantasy point game. Past that, no big surprises. Gallinari, pretty solid value today. Looks like Aaron Holiday just got ruled out with Cameron Payne being out, so that's going to beefing up Chris or Devin Booker even more so, right? Kyle Bridges, 37. You really couldn't go wrong with a Sun stack unless you were overexposed to DeAndre Ayton, but Crowder, Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Aaron Holiday, even if you guys anticipated him starting for Chris Paul, what are you going to do? But Ayton was kind of the down part of that, and he had such a strong first quarter too, so that was very unfortunate. Anyway, that was last night. Hopefully you guys did all right. Hopefully tonight's better, a little bit better, a lot bit better. Had a couple top 100 finishes in both DraftKings and FanDuel, but you know, with the top heavy payouts, you really want that top 5, top 10. And I was there. I was knocking on the door. I had a D'Angelo Russell lineup that was like 10 points away from banking. Didn't quite close it. What are you gonna do? What's up, chat? What up, Mighty Saint? Mia Moore, Parker Douglas, McCall. Back to back, let's go. What up, Crispy? What up, Skimmer? Jay Smooth. Patrick Reed says, hello, everybody. So good to be back. Life should never be without sports and gun show. I appreciate that. Came up with this in the long break. Missed everything yesterday. You didn't miss a lot. Yesterday was a good little welcome back slate. Couple of floor games out of like Levine and Trae Young, guys like that. But tonight's another night. You get the Hornets, you get the Rockets, you get LeBron James. We're back at it. What up, Jim? Ayton let me down. Ayton was not what you wanted, but he started so well. Oh, what up, Tarin? What's up, everyone? 2 things. Is there a G or player in general you like to pivot off of Booker? For me, no. I think Devin Booker is, especially now that we just got Aaron Holiday out, I think Devin Booker's going to need a price boost for me to not like how involved he is. Going to have high usage, almost a 30% assist rate. No Aaron Holiday now. Stream disconnected. So during my PrizePicks stream, it disconnected, and now I just said it disconnected again. Are we still there, chat? I don't know why it's doing that. The internet shouldn't be an issue. What up, random? Where the host at? I don't know, man. What up, Jermaine? What up, Keith? Man, you guys doing all right? You guys doing all right? Hopefully you guys are vibing today. We are headed towards a weekend. So I think tomorrow we'll do some coverage for NBA. I think we'll do a 2 p.m. stream with Coach. I might do a prop show, but I'm not sure. Usually we let Josh be a family guy on the weekends, and then maybe catch him again on Monday. But yeah, we've got a lot to chop up today and a lot of diving, swimming around to do. So we will open up the I guess we'll start with PrizePicks, or we'll start with Underdog here. So let's move over to Underdog and check out what they just dropped on Twitter, giving us. Wait, that's a troll account. I just got trolled. Hold up. There's really a troll Underdog. All right, we'll pull up on this one. What up, Tone Loke? I haven't seen that name in a minute. What's up, Brody? What's up, Brody? All right, let's pull up the real Underdog. Yo, who makes a fake Underdog account? What the heck? Cameron Payne just got rolled out right before it went live. Aaron Holiday rolled out as well. So that's going to really isolate minutes to Devin Booker and, God forbid, Elfrid Payton. I don't think they just seem not interested in giving Elfrid Payton big minutes. So, key news to watch. Shout out to Justin Fan. LeBron James questionable. Van Vliet likely to play. RJ Barrett questionable. Malcolm Brogdon probable. Thomas Bryant questionable. Reggie Bullock questionable. Chris Duarte questionable. And Carmelo Anthony probable. A couple things I've added to watch that is not being reported by some of these outlets is one, Derek Favors really hasn't played back-to-backs all year, so I don't expect him to play. That would probably throw Isaiah Roby in the starting lineup, and then Mitchell Robinson's dad is missing, so I'm not gonna say I expect him to miss, but I certainly could understand him not wanting to play basketball tonight if they're looking for his old man. So keep an eye on that, man. I hope they find his pops, man. That's an unfortunate situation. But yeah, let's go jump into the slate here. This stream brought to you by RunDFS.com. You guys know the drill. If you guys want access to the spreadsheet, the projections, all that good stuff, go to RunDFS.com, click VIP memberships, find something that is right for you. Maybe test out the week pass, see what you think. Get into the Discord. Don't just sign up and get the spreadsheet. Get into the Discord, and every day before lock for about 2 hours, I'm in the pre-lock voice chat, chopping it up, and we'd love for you guys to be part of it. Man, what's going on with the chat? What is this? What is happening? Let's see. Let me move it to the left here a little bit. Yup, a little bit. And then maybe we'll make the width a little bit shorter. Doing some on-air housekeeping. For some reason on this design, I don't know if it's, I don't know how to explain it, but so we're going to move it to 740. How about that? 740. Does that sound better? I think that's the move. 740. But for some reason, I don't know, I redesigned this whole setup, and then for some reason it keeps defaulting to an old one, and it's annoying, but it's all good. Yo, shout out to Mock Wally, joined the membership program here on the channel. Jim also in the chat. He's got the Panda Bear. Jim's got one of the longest membership cumulative of membership, I guess that's how you say it, on the channel. Shout out to Jim. On Monday, hopefully Monday, we'll launch a free Discord for the channel with membership perks as well. And then have been in talks to have a members-only live stream in the afternoon before the free streams. Just kind of a hangout, do some homework, catch up on stuff type of sesh with open mic. So if you guys would be interested in that, definitely stay tuned, and hopefully we get that going. The only thing that might pause it is to be realistic, looking at the schedule in a month. If we do get baseball, I would probably be sitting here in front of a camera for 6 hours, 7 hours straight, So, but look out for that. We're definitely gonna have the Discord launched. It's been designed and developed, but the potential members only live stream, that we may launch that as a free show for a week and then move it behind the members only on YouTube. So look out for that. What up, Obi? What up, everyone hates Chris? Doug, you in the chat? Did Booker start a point guard yesterday? Yeah, Booker did start. We thought Aaron Holiday might start, but it ended up being Devin Booker. And they started Jay Crowder, Cameron Payne, and McCall Bridges in between Booker and Aiden, right? What up, Thomas? All right, let's talk about tonight's games. Game number one. Unlike yesterday we had one game at lock, then we had one game at 7:30. Today we got 4 games at lock, so you got to make a lot of those decisions quicker, faster, and in a hurry. The first game we'll talk about, the Oklahoma City Thunder up against the Indiana Pacers. Project starting 5 for the Thunder: SGA, Josh Giddey, Aaron Wiggins, Darius Baisley, Isaiah Roby up against Malcolm Brogdon, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, O'Shea Brissett, and Goga Batadze. We got 226 total, 6.5 point spread in favor of the home team Indiana Pacers. Thunder, night 2 of a back-to-back. We'll be without Lou Dort, Ty Jerome again, and like I said, I do speculate that Derek Favors probably doesn't play this game. If that happens, what I do like is some looks at Darius Baisley on the other side of the All-Star break. Baisley had been playing really, really deep minutes for the Thunder. Matter of fact, we'll go to the minute rotation. Actually, we can just pull up the game logs, right? And I do think the Pacers' mid and front court is attackable for a high minute, potentially high energy guy like a Baisley. Last night, just 26 minutes. The Suns' wing rotation definitely tougher, but if we can get him back to the north side 30 minutes, I do think in this matchup we can get him a pretty decent expectation, if not just from a floor outcome, but maybe a ceiling outcome as well. If you can get 35 plus minutes against, Goga, Terry Taylor, Isaiah Jackson, guys like that, I'm a little bit interested. I got him right above a point per minute on a 31-minute projection right now. So it's going to be introduced into the player pool. And I don't really have any deep rooted interest in SGA and Giddey right off the bat. I guess SGA showing us yesterday that we really don't have to worry about him from a minute standpoint. 35 minutes, 20 plus shot attempts. So I guess at 9K, he does have that 58, 57, 48 fantasy point potential. And if you think that is something he realizes here on a back-to-back, I wouldn't talk you off of that. I might get there because I'm actually getting a really doggone solid projection right now as well, almost 50 fantasy points. So I do think his floor is not as high as we would want it or like it. So it's going to be probably a tier 3 shot for me and rotate exposure that way. But him and Baisley are the two guys I'm most intrigued with. And then Josh Giddey at over 8K, at over 8K might be something I'm a little bit more skittish on. His assist rate without Dort and with SGA on the court is still okay, but I think at 8K I really, really want to believe in the north side of 40 fantasy points. I think that's an every now and then outcome here. So maybe depending on how deep your player pool and how large your risk tolerance is, you get to some of him. Last night, stuffed the stat sheet again, a point per minute. So you think this matchup maybe nets a little bit more opportunity if he can be a point per minute plus, get to that 40 plus point production. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but it's something that you absolutely need, right? You can't live with like a 39 and expect to take much down. So a little bit low on him. I'm going to get to some SGA, and then Baisley I'm probably going to have more than I should. A lot of this is contingent on Derek Favors not being in the mix tonight. That's something that I'm expecting, and you guys can kind of see for yourself. I don't know. Maybe we stat muse this. Derek Favors DKP by game log on night 2 of a back-to-back. Let's go last 100 games. And I don't think he's played a back-to-back this season, but I could be wrong. 2021. So literally, no, this season he's not played a back-to-back. So just kind of expected him to be out. And we already know Muscala's out. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl is out. They waived that one kid that started for a couple games. So I expect, bigger minutes there for Baisley and Roby in that front court. And maybe even Roby might be a click or two on DK at 4,300. On the Pacer side, Brogdon being introduced back into the rotation here is a monkey wrench in the plans. If you guys loved the 40 minutes of Tyrese Halliburton, him and Buddy Hield kind of doing their thing, Brogdon is expected to come back today, and he is I guess going to have his minutes monitored. He hasn't played since January 19th, over a month absence here, so I don't expect a ton of minutes here, and he hasn't shown us 30 minutes since December 15th. So Do we still expect Tyrese Halliburton to play high 30s, maybe 40s in terms of minutes? Yes, but what is the hierarchy in terms of on-ball production and usage? And that's something that is worth watching here. We've seen him hit 8+ assists in 3 straight games. We know his assist rate can be really, really high. We saw him set the table for a lot of games with the Kings when they were without Fox, but with Halliburton playing alongside with Brogdon, there's enough concern about that. But at 9,500 on FanDuel, 8.8 on DK, still getting a modest 40+ fantasy point projection. But again, these are numbers that you have to have as a baseline and hope that he deviates positively at this price. So I'm going to be a little bit skittish, a little bit trepidatious, if you will, on getting too much exposure to any of the Pacers in terms of Halliburton, Hill, Brogdon. I probably don't get to any Brogdon unless I can lose all concern about his minutes. 6,100 is still an interesting price, but I would really need on this size slate to know that I'm not going to be capped in terms of minutes. And right now, I just put 20 minutes on him to be safe. But Halliburton would be the most interesting click for me on the Pacers. And it looks like they might have Isaiah Jackson. So this front court, you guys have seen it play out. O'Shea Brissett, Bataze, Isaiah Jackson, Terry Taylor. It is quite the situation of spinning the wheel, making a deal. Hope you get the right one at the end of the night. I'm getting a solid projection on O'Shea Brissett from his DK score, but nothing I need to go out of my way to capture. And then also Chris Duarte, probably going to lead the bench in minutes, but not getting a price or a projection that I think is extraordinary. So I'm just going to live with being very low on this game. And then, like I said, bing bong. You made the bear angry. Oh, where's the text-to-speech at? I guess I got to turn that back on. Damross says, Mike Hawk is large. There's a clip. AF, retirement ends 3/7/22. Wait, whoa. Ends 3/7? Why not now? Why not today? I guess you're going to Cali, huh? Is that the pushback there? By the way, last night, if we look at the rotation for the Thunder, off the bench, we saw Trey Mann play 30 minutes, and he actually closed out in a rotation that did end up making Baisley look like play big. And in that split, if you expect him to go that way again, and the Pacers, if they end up with like a Terry Taylor in the core as their big, maybe Trey Mann's kind of a sneaky bench player to throw in your mass field options. I'm getting a point per minute projection on that DK price point at 5K. If I can get to 30 fantasy points, I'm fine with that, This guy. Because the only thing about his minutes, God dang it. I'm going to get that little clip, right? Our local Big D. Let's go. Oh, the Damron takeover. Oh, Damron, the biggest D of the month. Fish fan has been overtaken. Next game on the docket, Houston Rockets up against the Orlando Magic. Project starting 5 for the Rockets, Kevin Porter Jr., Jalen Green, Eric Gordon, Jayshawn Tate, and Christian Wood up against Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter, and Mo Bamba. He's got hose calling. We got 234.5 total, 4-point spread in favor of the Orlando Magic. We kind of divvied up this game on the PrizePicks show. I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Orlando Magic for safety when it comes to minute projections. Very rarely you're going to find the Magic be a home or a favorite period in the NBA, but even more or less when it's a 230 plus total. This is a team that has boasted one of the worst offensive efficiencies in all of basketball. But here against the Rockets, right? Rockets will right some wrongs with what they're best at, which is what they're worst at, and that's defense. They have the worst defensive efficiency in all of basketball. 117 points per 100 possessions with a minus 9.6 net rating, and that should be enough to offset the Orlando Magic and their third worst offensive efficiency. So a lot of the game log, when you look at the Orlando Magic, some of our favorite guys to key in on, you're going to have to put context and grains of salt to a lot of this stuff. And essentially speaking, like, this Phoenix game, blowout. So starter only gets 26 minutes and so on and so forth. 28 minutes against Boston. A lot of these lopsided games, we're only getting mid-20s to high 20s in terms of minute projections. And because of maybe some projection systems being a little bit more reactive to that, not putting context to the game script and game flow, maybe the Magic underproject here, but I think the Magic all look like clickable names to me on FanDuel especially. We're getting everyone outside of Wendell Carter under 7K, and even Wendell Carter 7K, somebody I can get to. We look at that team DVP chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. Houston allows the most fantasy points per game to opposing power forward, centers, and also point guards, and they're up there for shooting guards and small forwards as well. So there's not a name that I wouldn't get behind here, and I guess it comes down to what player group correlations do we set in order to not have too much at stake, and how much ceiling scores can coexist on the same team. You know what I mean? Like, do we expect Cole Anthony and Jalen Suggs to have ceiling games to help you make some noise in tournaments and so on and so forth? I think at these prices, I think my cap might be 3, but I wouldn't think you're insane if you maybe thought a single entry was small field single entry was worth having a shot at 4. But I think I'm going to go 3 max on the Magic here. I might stagger Anthony and Suggs exposure. And it feels like Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba would be somewhat negatively correlated, but I think in this matchup, I wouldn't overthink it because of these prices. I think 40-plus fantasy points for Wendell Carter is pretty doggone live. And I think Mo Bamba is super intriguing. The thing with Bamba is he is somebody that doesn't necessarily end up playing a lot of minutes, but when he's on the court, he's so freaking productive, and he's a block machine, right? He's averaging, I believe, a block plus per game this season, almost 2 blocks per game this season. And one of our favorite stats when it comes to the Houston Rockets is they are allowing a top 3 amount of blocks per game in the league, while also allowing the most steals per game. So some of these defensive stalwarts in the other teams for FanDuel, PrizePicks, Yahoo scoring, guys like Wendell Carter, who average almost 1.5 stocks per game, and guys like Mo Bamba, who average almost 2.5 stocks per game, could pick up some extra points and raise their floor there. And his projections coming back at 30-plus fantasy points on both sites in my model, and that's incredible for 4,500. So I will definitely have to meditate on just how much is too much Mo Bamba here, because it's such a positive matchup. But that's the case for everyone on the Magic here. So I'll probably just be playing with some rules here. And I think early on, I'm thinking about staggering the overlap between Suggs and Anthony, right? How often am I getting coexisting games? Maybe on FanDuel, it's combined 12.5K. Could I get 80 to 100 fantasy points? Probably. But maybe I might be going one or the other. And right now, my early model likes Stanley Suggs a little bit more. I guess it's worth doing a quick on-off court tool. We got plenty of time today. I don't need to go too fast. So we'll go Suggs and Anthony. Really, I guess we just leave it as is and see what we're working with. But I guess just because there was some games where Suggs and Suggs missed and vice versa. Suggs and Anthony on the court together. Do you prefer Suggs to Anthony? Yo, green check mark. Shout out to you. I think yes, because of my projection being there. But their numbers are so similar, right? Very linear. 22.8% usage for Suggs, 22.7% usage for Anthony. The assist rate only 3% difference. So this is definitely one of those spots where I probably drive a wedge between them and hope that one of them spikes, one of them has a floor game, and that they both don't just have super average games. But it seems unlikely that against the Rockets one of those guys wouldn't thrive, because Cole Anthony has every bit of 50-plus fantasy point upside as well if he's offered the opportunity at minutes, right? So I guess I would have. I don't have a strict preference, no. But I would hate to have to make that decision in like a single entry, right? So I think I'm just going to appropriately designate equity to everyone on the Magic here. The run back option gets a little bit more blurry. We talked about on the Prize Pick show. I didn't really want to attack the Rockets for any props, but for DFS again, I'm getting stretched thin when I'm trying to reach some guys at over 30 minutes. Right, Rockets, Silas, we expect them to not be super competitive down the stretch. They don't have a lot of incentive to be competitive, and we got pretty deep minute rotations, right? We got Şengün being involved lately, KJ Martin in the mix, Dennis Schroeder gonna ride it out with them to finish the season. So like unless we get some staggered rest, like Eric Gordon missing a game here and there, it's hard to feel confident about pushing anyone well above 30 minutes. We know Kevin Porter Jr., Christian Wood, and when they're on the court, statistically speaking, they'll have really, really elevated usage rates. And against a team like the Magic that do bolster one of the worst defensives ratings in basketball, it is going to be a plus spot, but it is hard to feel great about it. But I guess if we wanted to maybe hedge, push back, run back, if you will, some of our Magic exposure, we might lean on a couple shares of KPJ, Christian Wood, but nothing that I'm going to have as high tier ones, tier twos. Whereas the Magic, I could get to some tier two rankings in their exposure levels, right? I just think the murkiness of the Rockets' waters is unfortunate. Can Eric Gordon be the only run back? Maybe the only. So I usually when I try to run stuff back here, I don't not even run back. I just hate getting to guys that feel a little bit more scoring dependent. But at 4K, Eric Gordon certainly could fill a role if he got to 25 plus fantasy points. But probably not something that I would land a high amount of. But if you're trying to force a run back, and make no mistake, I don't think you have to run back much, but it's still a pretty high implied total, right? Rockets are live for 115 points here, so if they're going to score 115, how's it going to happen? Well, on the season, KPJ and Christian Wood are going to have pretty big parts in that, but I like Eric Gordon could have 18 real points today and really not be a factor for tournaments tonight. So that's kind of what I'm skittish about, right? So if he was +4 on his season average, does that mean much? No. And even if he got 25, 26 fantasy points on a slate this big, doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be needed for big field tournaments. So I probably don't force Eric Gordon, but like if you're interested in anyone to just kind of feel like you're balancing your Magic exposure, like I wouldn't talk you off of Gordon, but I don't think he's going to make my short list, me personally. And then to answer Green Check there on the Suggs to Anthony, I think I'm going to be a punk and just kind of have the same amount of both pre-flop. Like, let's say I wanted 25% of Cole, 25% of Suggs, because it just feels like there's a 25% chance one of those guys is optimal at their price on FanDuel. And then I'd probably tweak that based on the ownership projection. So I'm a little bit more proportionate to the field, unless I feel like one of those guys is over-owned, and then I just kind of leverage it as best I can, right? How do you feel about Walker Jr.? Walker Jr. Who is Walker Jr.? Walker Jr. Porter Jr.? Is that maybe you got auto-corrected? I think if you were to ask me who's most likely to score 40-plus fantasy points for the Rockets, it'd be between KPJ and Christian Wood. So if that's the question, if I was getting to 150 lineups, I'd probably get to some of those guys just because. But like I said, the pre-flop volatility of minutes for the Rockets with Silas and with this rotation is enough that in 20 or less, I'd be a little bit more skittish and feel like I can get to some of these, realize some of these outcomes on some other spots, right? Lonnie Walker the fourth, Junior. Come on. Well, we'll talk about that. Let's move on to the next game. Wizards hosting the Spurs. Projected starting 5 for the Spurs. We got DeJounte Murray, Devin Vassell, Dougie McBuckets, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Taking on Raul Neto, Corey Kispert, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Kyle Kuzma, and Thomas Bryant. We got a 224 total 3-point spread for the visiting San Antonio Spurs. Spurs have been real fun for me without Derek White, because I get to unleash all of my DeJounte Murray love that I've had for years now. And now there's very little resistance. Today, up against the Washington Wizards, I'm getting a 50-plus fantasy point projection on both FanDuel and DK. Hey, yo. Evaldry, appreciate that sub, man. That new Noti gets me, right? We're really pushing the bear theme, and just hearing a bear growl in my ears is catching me off guard. What was I doing though? Oh, I was about to run a Spurs on-off court tool. So we're gonna go DeJounte on the court. Let's go Keldon Johnson as well, since he's playing a lot of minutes here, and then Vassell, since he's kind of essentially asserted himself into the starting lineup without Derek White. And then I guess it's worth leaving Yahoo Poeltl in the mix. Now, obviously, DeJounte is going to have more minutes than many of these other guys, especially Yahoo Poeltl. But essentially, we want to paint the picture on how life has been without Derek White, with these guys kind of in the mix. What up, K. Johnson? What up, CMR? Sorry, he's from San Antonio. Lonnie? Yeah, I got you. Did they call him Lonnie Jr.? I've never. I just call him Lonnie Walker, but in my numbers, he's Lonnie Walker the fourth, right? DeJounte at 23.5% usage rate, 45% assist rate, just incredible. A 1.5 fantasy point per minute production rate. So speaking of DeJounte here, 45% assist rate. What was the line that we had on PrizePicks for DeJounte Murray for assists? 9.5. That's 45% assist rate. That number's certainly live here, so that might be something I add to the back end of some of my PrizePicks numbers. But yeah, I'm getting 50-plus fantasy points from him. It's going to be a little bit more value because of how big the slate is, so I do think I'll get there on DeJounte. In terms of these other guys, usage-wise, I'm not getting anyone well above 20%, not getting anyone well above 0.8 fantasy points per minute. Yahoo Poeltl is intriguing. I do like picking on Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant, however, is questionable. So if Bryant didn't play here, you might see Daniel Gafford or Anthony Gill get a little bit of extra run here. Maybe Rui Hachimura. I'd be able to pick on. Gafford is like, I'm not running from Gafford, but certainly feel like a little bit more stocky, a little bit more traditional than Thomas Bryant here. And Yahoo Poeltl has a lot to do at 7.3K. So even if he did get me near this fantasy point projection that I have, almost 40 on DK, a little over 40 on FanDuel, not like it's a huge bargain here. So I think DeJounte Murray represents probably the bulk of my interest here. And then on the Wizards side, what do you guys think about Kyle Kuzma? Kuzma without Bradley Beal certainly has had some spike games, and it's still in Kristaps Porzingis purgatory, where Kuzma should be one of the team leaders in minutes and usage. Last time out, 30 minutes against Brooklyn, just 19 fantasy points. One of the worst outcomes that you could expect in that split. It was night 2 of a back-to-back. It was game 3 and 4 nights. Maybe it all just caught up to him. But with a little bit of rest here over a week off his feet here, 38 minutes, and his 25 to 30% usage rate, could be back live. And it is against a Spurs team that defensively has certainly been given some areas of opportunity to improve upon, right? 111.1 points per 100 possessions. So do you guys like getting back to Kuzma? I feel like his FanDuel price point is significantly better. What was that, $1,300 discount to his DK price point? And that's probably something that's going to get me in trouble, because I'm getting a 40-plus fantasy point projection. So if you're going to give me 45 fantasy points at 7.6K, I'm probably going to be interested. Maybe we correlate Kuzma to DeJounte a little bit more. Decent total, decent spread. So I don't mind getting to these two. I'm not really running to get to much else. I guess we have seen a case for some KCP here and there, but I just hate playing KCP because I played more than a year, right? By the way, that's right. So let's put Kuzma on the court. Let's take off Bradley Beal. Let's take off Spencer Dinwiddie. And then I guess we'll put KCP on, because we know KCP is at least going to soak up some minutes. and just kind of get the split. You're going to play some Kuzma. Jim says thoughts on Kispert. So Kispert is probably a volatile back end tier 3 risky value play for me. One of those guys we could see hit for 30, but certainly could also see high teens. Kuzma, a 26% usage rate in this split. KCP 20%. Kuzma's the only guy over a fantasy point per minute. Thomas Bryant is the other guy, but he's still, one, he's questionable. Two, he's been on this minute restriction that I've been on the outside looking in on. Obviously, there's been some games where he's got to 30 despite the minute restriction, but I just can't. Kispert, 0.5 fantasy points per minute. I think if you're dumpster diving, maybe there's worse options than Corey Kispert here. But 4,500, much like Eric Gordon, right? You're probably going to need 16, 20 plus real points, and then hope there's enough peripherals to boot. And that's a little bit riskier than I would like it to be. But if you're desperate and you have a higher risk tolerance than me, I certainly wouldn't talk you off of it. I have Kispert for about 26, 25 fantasy points. So at 45, 4,600, 25 is probably not going to be the reason you win a tournament, right? Would probably, if you're just trying to cash in a double up or something like that, it would probably be okay in that. But for tournaments, I really, really want to feel great about its upside. We should go out golfing someday, Gun. You think so, Pat? I heard you're pretty good. What about Neto? Can he give you upside? Upside is a stretch, but every now and then I think 30 fantasy points is there. With Ish Smith kind of involved now, I really don't get to anything on the Wizards other than Kuzma more often than I don't. I think I might have had an uncomfortable amount of KCP on the last slate that this Wizards incarnation was on. But it's for me, I think it's going to be Kuzma and move on. Maybe on a shorter slate, I'd be more inclined to lean on these Wizards here. But this big of a slate, I don't feel like I have to push the issue and lock into somewhat scoring dependent options. You know what I mean? So that's just me. But Neto, like I said, in this split with Neto on the court, we put him on the court with KCP and Kuzma. I need some water. Neto has a 0.9 fantasy point per minute with a 24% assist rate. So, if you 0.9, you'd probably need mid-30s as a minute projection to feel like 30 happens here and there. I don't think it's out of the range of outcomes because of the Spurs defense being lackluster and this being a little bit of a pace-up spot for the Wizards. But again, no warm and fuzzies, right? So if I had to jot down some tier 2 candidates, it's going to be DeJounte and it's going to be Kyle Kuzma. And then based on minutes, I think if you threw Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson into the tier 3s for 100, 150 lineups, I wouldn't think that's a crazy take, right? And then if we do lose Thomas Bryant, you might look at Rui Hachimura, maybe some Daniel Gafford for a little extra minutes. And we've seen the Spurs surrender fantasy points to opposing bigs here. So if you can get access to a big that's not on a minutes restriction, potentially open up more minutes because of one's absence, maybe Gafford would project as a super solid play if they go that route, Get them likes up. Where we at on likes? 32 likes? Yeah, we can do better than that, right? We can get to 100 plus, I believe. We do the 100 plus like goal to get a Saturday stream. Raptors at the Hornets. Next game on the docket. Projected starting 5 for the Raptors: Fred VanVleet, Gary Trent Jr., Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, and Kem Birch up against LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Mason Plumlee. A 226 total, a 2-point spread in favor of the Toronto Raptors. The OG Anunoby had a broken finger, so he's listed as out for this one. Not what you want if you're the Raptors here. And then Fred VanVleet is listed as expected to play, but there was a quote saying that his knee recovery wasn't going as well as he had hoped, but him being somebody that we expect to play, being listed as probable, expect him to play his normal minutes. It talked about if you're going to play 40 minutes a night, lead the league essentially in minutes per game. Knee problems are going to happen, so maybe Nick Nurse will take that as a warning. and kind of adjust going forward. But for now, we get this normal Raptors rotation, and then likely interchange like a Kem Birch or a Precious Achua into the projected starting lineup. And then we expect maybe Scotty Barnes to move up to the 3. Obviously, they have a couple of scenarios that they can lean on to be a little bit different than this projection from this far out. But I'm looking at this as the potential lineup with Birch and Achua being the coin flip for me. And then we get big minutes planted on Van Vliet, Trent, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. Van Vliet, Siakam would be the 2 most intriguing names for me. But I do think Gary Trent could thrive in this spot. I think what we uncovered really throughout the season, but in the previous stream, the PrizePicks stream, Gary Trent, somebody that we expect to take a double-digit shot attempts, potentially 15 to 20 plus, and we know 60 to 70% of those shots will likely be from behind the arc. And then on this season, the Charlotte Hornets have allowed the second most points per game via the 3 balls, second to just the Milwaukee Bucks. So it's a super plus spot for Gary Trent. So that led us to being somewhat interested in Gary Trent over 3.5 threes on PrizePicks. So maybe if that's something you want to add to your mix, they have them at 3.5. It is kind of a hefty price tag, but certainly feel like the volume of shots will be there against a Hornets team that is going to be fast paced, way extra implied possession versus the Raptors pace rating on the season. And then of course their defense is very lackluster. So expect big minutes for Gary Trent, especially if you maybe babysit Van Vliet for a couple of minutes off of his feet. Usage wise, you pull up the on-off court tool for the Toronto Raptors. I don't really need to sweat usage too much, being that I expect 35 to 40 minutes for 4 of these guys against one of my favorite spots in all of basketball. But I guess if we want to isolate productivity, if we put Van Vliet, let's put Van Vliet, Trent, and Siakam on the court together and take off Anunoby and just kind of see how things shake out. I think we're going to get a decent assist rate on Van Vliet, and then Siakam per minute production is probably going to lead the charge. Let's see what the results are. Van Vliet, 25% assist rate, and Siakam, a 28% usage rate, 1.1 Fanduel fantasy points per minute, 1.14 for DK. So, yeah, as kind of expected. So, those would be the 3 guys that I'm most interested in. However, Scotty Barnes under 6K on both sites. You get 30-plus minutes against the Hornets. You're definitely live for point per minute production. And then this front court gets a little bit, I don't want to say the front court, but the Kem Birch, Achua, Thad Young, Chris Boucher, spin the wheel, make a deal, all right? We know Chris Boucher has all the upside in the world if he lands into 20-plus minutes. But is Thaddeus Young going to be involved? Is Thaddeus Young playable at 3,600 in the absence of Anunoby if they opt to, interchange that center spot, or keep Siakam at the center spot and maybe see what you got in Thad Young and some of his rotations. So I feel like one of those guys could be live for tournaments, but that's something that you probably only can accomplish with 100-plus lineups to kind of spin the wheel there. Could just be a bunch of modest outputs from the 4, right? The Birch, Achua, Boucher, Thad. But I'm getting not a bad Thad Young projection at 3,600 if he can fall into a little low 20 minutes, right? 23 minutes. On the Hornets side, no Gordon Hayward. Charlotte Hornets will likely throw out Miles Bridges and PJ Washington again to match up to the Raptors' size. We saw this lineup on the other side of the All-Star break, which was a little bit different. It also allowed for some Montrezl Harrell Twin Tower lineups. The last lineup against the Miami Heat, we did see PJ, Bridges, Rozier, Plumlee, and LaMelo. And then against the T-Wolves, we saw the same thing, PJ and Miles Bridges. So Miles Bridges at the 3, likely a guy that we lean on for 40-plus minutes in the last 2 games for Miles Bridges. They're looking a little Raptor-esque, right? The minutes for these guys has been nuts. Both Bridges, Mikal and Miles, 50, 44, 31, 38, 39. So Bridges playing all the minutes he can handle. In a positive game, he'll get you 20 plus real points and go from there. His last outing against Toronto, 25 real points and a bunch of peripherals. So minutes equal money, right? If you're going to get an opportunity to get access to a 220 plus total, a tight spread, Miles Bridges absolutely has all the potential to be one of the better plays on the slate. 40 plus fantasy points would achieve justification for this price point. And then if he did hit his ceiling outcome, 50 plus fantasy points, I'd be very happy to be an investor in that. LaMelo, Terry Rozier. LaMelo on Fanduel, I'm a little bit more receptive to. I'm looking for 45 plus. That's what the projection has at 9,600 on DK. There's certainly some instant competition at the price range, right? A little bit above Devin Booker, who pre-flop seems like one of the better plays on the slate. You saw what he did last night. So a little less volatility in his floor to ceiling expectations. Obviously, LaMelo Ball's ceiling versus Devin Booker's ceiling. You include standard deviation. There's a chance for LaMelo Ball to be the better play, but I think floor-wise, the projection will likely lean on Devin Booker a little bit more. And then SGA, we saw last night, he's not on a minutes restriction, and I'm getting right now a pretty sizable projection on him against the Pacers. So LaMelo does have some competition on DK in the 9K price range, and if you wanted to really go above and beyond the 10K price, certainly some pushback, but I do like the Fanduel price point at under 9K. The same with Terry Rozier, right? He has 60 fantasy point potential, a little bit of an outlier when he does achieve that, and his floors, into the 30s, and 30 would probably cripple you at this price point for both Fanduel and DK. So probably put those guys in the tier 3 categories. I'm thinking about tier 2 and Miles Bridges just based on implied minutes, and then kind of leaving it there. Montrezl Harrell, his price point on DK a little bit more welcoming than his Fanduel price point per minute. He's a monster for fantasy production. So just kind of spinning the wheel on these guys and trying to appropriate the right ownership equity individually, right? What do you guys got on this one? The turtle should eat like Alcapertle. Yeah, but a Renza. Trent look real good right now. OG rolled up. Yeah, I like that. Oubre look good for 5.1K too. Oubre is another one of those guys. I mentioned it on the PrizePicks show. The Hornets are such a I won't say good offense that they're volatile, if that makes sense. Like each guy can have their spike game where if Miles Bridges going off, it's like going to take away from like a PJ or Plumlee, or if a Rozier's going off, maybe it means Oubre's not or LaMelo's not, right? And there's outcomes where each guy spikes, and coming into the last couple weeks, I've been pretty invested in the player group correlations on the Hornets, where I would kind of find who doesn't coexist together. And usually I can say 2 of 3 of LaMelo, Rozier, Hayward. Well, now we don't have Hayward. Does Bridges moving into the 3 spot, should we still honor that kind of line of thinking where we put 2 of 3 of LaMelo, Rozier, and Bridges? I think that's potentially a way to approach that. So maybe something to think about. Especially, if Bridges is going to keep playing alongside PJ, right? K. Johnson says Trent has come through in their split over the last 2 games versus Charlotte. Now OG, yes please. Bridges was the leading scorer both times for those 2 games too. I like the Bridges call here. Also, Gary Trent at 6,500 on DK certainly feels like 20 to 25 real points could be here. There for the taking for him. And then, like we said, Siakam's going to get a solid projection. Van Vliet's going to get a solid projection. And all these guys have stock potential to bolster our FanDuel expectations. I really feel like the key to the slate just might be which of Birch, Achua, Boucher, and Thad Young, with emphasis on Boucher and Thad Young being the more lucrative per minute type of guys to want to get behind, right? Gunnar, are you partaking in the NFL all-day pack drop? I haven't got into that, man. I got my Top Shot money, man. It turned $15 into like $2-3 grand, and I got out. But I think I tried to get in that, but I forgot what my 2FA password was. So no, I have not been partaking in it all day. Has there been any money in that, or is it basically Top Shot Part 2 with the market being a little bit settled already, right? But I think it's cool. I like collecting cards. So I don't know, but I like real cards over the digital. The only reason I ever got into Top Shot is because it was literally free money. Like if you got a pack, you profited. Is all day like that? If you get a pack, you automatically profit, or is it way more stable? Do you like Wendell Carter at center? What's up, Blah? Yes, I do. I think Wendell Carter's got an opportunity to be an incredible play at this price point today. We've been picking on Houston all year with power forwards, with centers, with everything. Wendell Carter certainly has one of the better pre-flop expectations for minutes for the Magic. Yep. It's too new. Time to do that again. Is it instant profit? I guess is my question. It felt like NFTs as a whole, like it kind of neutralized. Like even I got into some DraftKings NFTs, and a lot of those were like losing money. Right? I got like a Derek Jeter helmet to put $60 into that. I think it's worth $30 now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If it's not instant profit, I don't have any interest. Like I don't believe in digital collectibles like that, but I do believe in making money, and that's why I was in Top Shot. I was just trying to get that instant flip, you know what I'm saying? Heat at the Knicks. Next game on the docket. Project starting five for the Heat. Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy G. Buckets, PJ Tucker, and Bam Adebayo taking on Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. Maybe I mentioned it earlier. Mitchell Robinson had tweeted that his dad was missing. TMZ picked up on the story, and somebody in chat last stream, before this stream, said that it didn't look like that issue was resolved. So I don't know. There's no Q tag on Mitchell Robinson, but if he was ruled out for personal reasons, it certainly would be understandable. So something to keep an eye on there. If I don't want to bring his real life stuff into it, but that sucks. I hope they find him. So just keep an eye on him actually playing tonight. If he doesn't, you might see Nerlens Noel if he can go. If not, maybe Taj Gibson, something like that. Generally speaking, this is a game of two of the teams that I just stay away from all year long. Pace-wise, the Knicks and the Heat are two of the bottom three pace teams in all of basketball. Defensively, we know the Heat can step it up. The last couple weeks, we've seen Julius Randle thrive, and even in some spots that were not as great on paper as we thought. And he, I keep referencing that Denver game that was back-to-back from Utah to Denver, game 3 and 4 nights, and he still went out there and smashed. But a lot of these games were also without RJ Barrett, and then a lot of these games are just in kind of like plus matchups. So RJ Barrett, if he's going to be back in this lineup here, is it enough? All things considered, the Heat front court, RJ Barrett back in the mix, is that enough to stay away from? If that is, I don't need to get here. And then I think they talked about Kemba Walker not being part of the rotation again. So I just don't. I don't know. I guess we could bolster some usage here for Barrett and Burks, but I just think generally speaking, this pace is going to be so down. The expected total is going to be so down. The prices are appropriate. Maybe you could sell me on like a Jimmy Butler or somebody like that. But I just think like I'm not expecting a ton of ceiling from this spot here. And then Knicks being 5.5 point favorites. I'm not gonna say that's disrespectful, but we've seen the Heat being 5.5 point favorites. I'm not gonna say that's disrespectful, but the Heat have been putting clamps on teams and smoking really good offenses, and the Knicks have certainly left some areas of opportunity for improvement as a team here. So I don't really have a lot of high hopes and expectations, and I don't have any projection that is coming back egregious versus the price point. I'll take the 40 plus from Adebayo, 8,400 on DK if he gives it to me. Jimmy Butler, I'm getting low 40s with Tyler Hero in the mix, Kyle Lowry in the mix. Like there's enough potential cannibalism that I stay away here. On the Knicks side, same thing. I'm not getting massive projections here. Julius Randle is not 8.5K, right? So I think I'm just kind of staying away from this whole situation. And on a slate this big, you can't play everybody. Some games you just X out. And for me, this is probably an X out game. Maybe two negatives equal a positive later night, right? They just found him, did they? Oh, that's good to know. That's really good to know. Like, did they just find him? Somebody had told me last stream that it wasn't resolved yet, but that's good to know. Well, what about Martin from the Heat, though? I don't have any reason to play him. Caleb Martin. I think I click Cody. Caleb Martin. Prior to the break, 24 minutes. Was Tyler Hero out those games? Let me see. I don't really like. I don't know. I guess if we're just looking to get a little cute, I get it. Let's see. Caleb Martin. Wait, when was this? In February 7th? So he hasn't played since the set. I don't really think there's not like a reason to be here, especially if you think 3,600 he fills a role, but I'm not on him. But I like if you got a reason for it, you get that feeling in your bad knee, man. Do you, bro? Trust your gut. F what Gun says. Me too. A no-go for me on this game. Yeah, same here. All right, let's move on to the next game here. 76ers at the Minnesota Timberwolves. We've got James Harden debuting, Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid up against Patrick Beverley, D'Angelo Russell crossing over with Anthony Edwards, Jared Vanderbilt, Karl Anthony Towns, the Big Cat, Ernie Ladd. We got a 229 total, 2.5 point spread in favor of the visiting 76ers. So James Harden is 9,600 on FanDuel. He's 10.9 on DK. That's a $1,300 discount from site to site. I'm getting about 50 fantasy points as this projection. There's a lot to guess here. There's some uncertainty how they gel usage-wise, right? When Harden and Embiid are on the court together, these are two ball-dominant, high-usage players. One of the things that I'm kind of on this far out is the Harden assist prop for PrizePicks, right? If we believe that Harden is, full go, no minutes restriction, nothing like that, I feel like 9.5 was kind of low. I could see him, basketball's a universal language, setting up shots here, and he's got plenty of weapons to play with, Maxey, Harris, and Joel Embiid. So I could see him getting double-digit assists to kind of settle in with his new squad. And then Joel Embiid, the question on him is, does he have to score 35, 40 real points for that team to compete? I don't know. So do you guys have a plan of action with this team here? Do we get a spot that's kind of like the old Westbrook KD, Westbrook Paul George, you know what I mean, where you put two guys together in cash and get 100, 120 points from the both of them because they do all of the work? Or is there enough involvement from Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, guys like that, to where that doesn't happen? I think there's no right or wrong answers right now pre-flop, but I think Harden on FanDuel at 9,600, that's gonna be hard to turn away from in his debut for the Sixers. 11K Joel Embiid. I'm looking for 60 plus fantasy points when we talk about the center position today. There's not a whole lot of girth at the high end. I think I'll be leaning on a lot of Wendell Carter, a lot of value Mo Bamba. So I guess I would be interested to see where the field was at least projected to be at on Joel Embiid. So maybe if he's at 20%, I can still get there. But I don't know if I want to stick my neck out there at 11.6K with Harden in the mix to get just a 50 fantasy point result. So. But that's not to say that would happen. Obviously, there's going to still be spike games for Embiid. Slot projection based on this algorithm, which, again, unsteady because of the lack of sample size between the two. Getting about 60 fantasy points, which 60 raw fantasy points, that dog will hunt. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. What are you guys doing? What do you guys think you're going to do tonight with James Harden and Joel Embiid? Very curious to see that. Some history between Embiid and Cat. They did have an NBA fight not too many moons ago. And then, of course, when Cat lost his mom, Embiid kind of went to Twitter and felt like they hashed it. So maybe it's nothing. But Twitter fingers are Twitter fingers. T-Wolves night 2 of back-to-back. Beat the Grizzlies last night. D'Angelo Russell had a big game. And Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns. Cat had the better game than Edwards in terms of fantasy. But it was D-Russ, it was Cat, and then it went from there. But we know with D-Russ, Edwards, and Cat, those guys can be volatile all the way through and through. I guess it's worth looking at what Cat has been able to accomplish against Joel Embiid. So Karl Anthony Towns, DKP by game log versus Joel Embiid, last 10 games. Fastest fingers in DFS. 44, 70, 28. All right. So that 70 would be fruitful. He played 44 minutes in that game. I assume that's including 1 or 2 overtimes. It did not. Is that for real? Do my eyes deceive me? That's crazy. But it was no D-Russ, and this was last year, right? Or 2 years ago. No, last year. All right. I don't have any front end need to get to Cat. But if he gets there, he gets there. Vanderbilt fouled out yesterday. This is going to be a tough spot for Vanderbilt to stay on the court, right? If he's struggling as is, he's one of the highest foul per minute guys in the league. Fouled out in 28 minutes yesterday. Joel Embiid, he'll draw some fouls. James Harden will draw some fouls. Tobias Harris. It's going to be a tough spot for Vandy to stay out there. Per minute, he's been pretty solid, but yeah, I don't have a whole lot of expectations on him to live up to mid to high 20s based on his foul potential. So might be something to look at for maybe some free throw props or something on the other end here. Let's get. Let me see what you guys are doing with the Embiid and Harden. I'm very curious to see what our community might be doing here. What about Martin Lewis? I like Martin Lewis, and you can run till that. Harden Embiid show. Let's go. Embiid is cerebral enough to feature Harden in his Sixer debut. Yeah, but maybe that's more of a home thing. But I also think like Harden has shown that he doesn't have to be 40, 50 real points, right? We've seen him he's 10 plus assists per game this season. Last year he was divvying up. So I definitely like his assist prop for PrizePicks and props, but could he coexist? Like, is there a world where Harden gets to 50 and Embiid also gets to 60? I think it's possible. I'm just curious to see where we're at as a group. Wendell Carter or Miles Bridges straight up, who you got, Gun? Ooh, I think Wendell Carter's floor is a little bit better. But Bridges certainly could play 40 minutes and drop 50 plus. So if you're chasing ceiling, maybe go Bridges. But Wendell Carter also has 40, 50 fantasy point potential. And I think Wendell Carter's floor is more likely to be 40 than Bridges. That makes sense. I don't know. What up, Tall? LeBron's at 28.5. Oh, they brought out some LeBron. That's good to know. I'm waiting for the bing bong to scare me. Shout out to Teddy. Thoughts on Mitchell? You mean Donovan Mitchell?
Bing bong.
Bing bong. Look at the bear. Rawr. I love it. I gotta add the text to speech. I don't know why that shut off, but what up, Teddy? Appreciate that $2, by the way. Thoughts on Mitchell? I'm assuming you mean Donovan Mitchell. In which case, I think he's fine. Usually Utah home games, I'm a little bit skittish of those games staying competitive, but Dallas is running a slow enough pace to keep them live, and Donovan Mitchell's usage on the court is high enough that I think he's fine. The thing with Mitchell is I do think he has instant competition at that price range on every site. He's not too far from Devin Booker. He's if we look at the just the guard position on DK, he's not too far from LaMelo Ball. He is a little bit above CJ McCollum, who could continue to thrive for the Pelicans. Westbrook without AD against Reggie Jackson. I'm not going to say more than that. So I think he's fine, but I think the more median expectation for Donovan Mitchell in a game against the slowest pace team in basketball is probably mid-40s rather than 50-plus, right? Coming off of super-plus matchups against the Lakers, against the Rockets. I don't know that I expect that to be more than an average spot today, where his median projection is probably mid 40s. So if you're happy with mid 40s, I think that's fine. Seems like a good cash option, but yeah. And 53 fantasy points on PrizePicks for LeBron. 28.5 real points. Did they give us a LeBron assist line? Because that's the line I'm a little bit intrigued with. They got 7 assists. I said at 7.5 for less, I'd be a buyer. So I think I'd take the 7. I'd probably take it now because I think it'll go up. So I do like that too. Right? You guys out there, if you were on the PrizePicks show. By the way, if you're not on PrizePicks, you should be. And you should sign up using code GUNDACKER, because when you do that, they're going to match your first deposit up to $100, and they're also going to show me some love. So it's a good way to keep this show going every day, free of charge, sometimes 6 days a week. And it's a good way to simplify the DFS process, better reward, and diversify your daily spend, your research. And it's a much more simple and arguably more fun sweat, because it's much more, you don't have to search who else has got what, like DFS does in these big slates where you got a late swap into Gary Payton's questionable, and now a 10-day contract guy is starting over the guy they just signed to a 4-year extension situation like that. Not salty at all. And you just isolate to 2 to 4, 2 to 5 picks, and it's a lot of fun. It's really taken over a lot of steam lately. I've seen a lot of DFS players just full on sell out for PrizePicks. We've seen a lot more casual players have a chance to make some money playing on PrizePicks. So if you guys haven't tried it yet, you want to give it a shot, go to prizepicks.com. You can download the app. When you do it, use code GUNDACKER. If you are on a desktop right now, I'll put a link in chat. You guys use this link, get signed up, and they will double your first deposit up to $100 instantly. No slow drip. You don't have to play through it 20 times and then cash out via crypto. Nothing like that, right? You get it. You get it. So go check it out. Support me, but also make some money, man. We've been crushing it. We also have coverage for that in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. But let's get back into some coverage here. Pelicans and the Suns. CJ McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Herb Jones, Jackson Hayes, Jonas Valanciunas up against Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Jay Crowder, and DeAndre Ayton. Right before I went on the air, I think we got Aaron Holiday out, joining Cameron Payne on the out list, which essentially turns their guard rotation to like Landry Shamet, Elfrid Payton, and we've seen them really not go there. So I think Devin Booker's minute projection could be 40 minutes here, which makes him an even stronger play, likely going to continue to be one of the highest projected owned players on the slate. After yesterday, he got there on the back of 6 steals, but I do think we know his usage and his assist rate is going to be high enough that it makes a lot of sense. We thought that the assist might have felt like an outlier yesterday. I guess there's just this season we have so much sample size of him with or Chris Paul played so much. But the number I got earlier was a 28. Did we drop again? Are we good? Are we live? I keep getting notice that I'm dropping frames, but I think we're still live, right? Chat live. Chris Paul off the court, Devin Booker on the court. This season, we've got a 27.4% assist rate, and like I said, this is basically the same team year over year. So I do like the thought of Devin Booker assist prop on PrizePicks, but then just generally for fantasy today, massive spot where you might just have to play 40 minutes with the lackluster. Not lackluster, with the lack of options in the guard spot. Also, yesterday we saw them start Cameron Johnson alongside Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder. So I think this is a strong spot to target Jay Crowder's Mikal Bridges' PRA again. Somehow Bridges played less minutes yesterday in that split, but normally we expect him to play upwards of 40 minutes. And then Cameron Johnson Super good value on Fanduel. Fine on DK again. Got to 30 fantasy points yesterday. Jay Crowder also achieved a good value rating without playing as many minutes. And then DeAndre Ayton, man, he was the bomb, man. Started so good against the Thunder. This is not necessarily a matchup I'm running to double down on Ayton here, but he certainly has every bit of 40 fantasy point potential. So I wouldn't talk you off that ledge, but it's not a core play or tier 2 play for me. He may not even be in the pool when I'm all said and done, but I do acknowledge that he is viable because of yesterday showing us he can play 30 minutes. But Devin Booker looks like a tier 1 option in back-to-back nights here. Chat says even without the 6 steals, he still crushes 5. Yeah, I think Devin Booker, like I 6 steals, like crushed it for PrizePicks and FanDuel, and it's 18 fantasy points. But just mathematically, you're never gonna paint a picture that portrays Devin Booker as a poor play today because of his usage being basically 30%, and then the minutes being what it is. So you get 30% usage in 40 minutes, you play it. You just do. Power play all from that game. CJ over points, Booker over assists, Crowder and Bridges over points. It makes sense. I wouldn't be against it. With Holiday out, can we go for Elfrid Payton? I would say no, Chris. I understand that it is possible, but on the other side of the All-Star break, Aaron Holiday hasn't been on the team that long, and they've had a stretch without Landry Shamet, without Cameron Payne, and Elfrid Payton was like garbage crew duty only. You know what I mean? Like, for they just don't want to use him. They don't feel pressured to use him. He's got a couple blowout mop up stuff, right? He played 2.5 minutes against the Rockets game, and that was a game that they did have Holiday, but they just for whatever reason they don't lean on Elfrid Payton. So logistically it makes sense that he would be the next man up, but it also seems like they could just use Landry Shamet instead. So I'm skittish on trusting Elfrid Payton to be involved in more than 15 minutes of rotation tonight, unless the game got completely lopsided, right? They literally were giving Chris Paul 40 minutes instead of giving Elfrid Payton some runs. So it makes me feel like they don't want to invest too many minutes into Elfrid Payton. I think on 5K there's no reason to even want to look at Payton, but I understand 3,700 on DK. There's a reasonable outcome if he got to 15-20 minutes, but I also think it's still Elfrid Payton, so I'm not running there, right? So tonight a Cam Johnson smash. Yeah, I'm fine with going back to really the Suns stack, but staggering them. I was gonna say I might cap it too, but I could see Booker, Bridges, Johnson being in a lineup together, and I probably wouldn't hate life. So, yeah. All right, let's look at these Pelican numbers with CJ on the court. I'm getting a little bit of sunlight here. I guess that's a good sign for this cold front to get out of town. Bad sign for the stream. I got a new hat. It just came in before I went live. Check that out. Yeah. Yeah, little Yankees. We might have to pop that on the stream sooner or later. I got a big old head though, so good little hat. $30, not too bad. Let's go pull up McCollum on the court, Ingram on the court. They've relegated Devontae Graham to the bench, so we get a lot of McCollum at point, Ingram ball handling as well. But the assist rate not as high as you would think individually, but the usage rate 26 and 27%. So both guys viable. CJ McCollum has been the more productive guy from real points and I guess fantasy points. So maybe we take advantage of that again. Another 30 plus real point game. He's done that in 3 of his last 4. I talked about how I think there's a range of outcome for the Suns team defense to maybe take a step backwards without Chris Paul. But that I didn't expect them to do what they did yesterday. But I also feel like we can't really be too results oriented based on what the Thunder did, because the Thunder are bottom 3 offensive efficiency in basketball. So I do wonder if there's still merit in Maybe the Suns giving up more points than we might usually imply them for. And a 230 total, 7-point spread leaves the door open for a lot of things, but it gives us, over 110 implied points for the Pelicans. So if they're going to score 110, seems reasonable to suspect that McCollum gets us 20, 30 plus real points, and we go from there. And we got big minutes on him. And then that might end up putting Bridges up against Brandon Ingram a little bit more, and more reason for me to maybe funnel action to McCollum. I think Bridges is a really good body archetype matchup for Ingram as well. So I do like looking at McCollum for perhaps some obvious in hindsight usage and end of night production. I'm getting over 40 fantasy points here, so I don't mind going there. I probably don't get to Ingram much, but I guess it wouldn't hurt to hedge some McCollum exposure with Ingram in case they flip sides on the seesaw. But Ingram's day-to-day production really hasn't flexed the ceiling alongside McCollum yet. That's worth having, right? 42 is largely expendable on a slate like this at this price. So we'd really want 50-plus fantasy points. And we haven't seen that happen with McCollum. So I might just lean on some McCollum here and kind of move on from there, right? Crowder's been getting there on PrizePicks. Yeah, so has McCall Bridges, right? Bridges, I know he didn't play 40 minutes yesterday, but he's been playing 40 minutes, high 30s. And I believe Josh noted in the PrizePicks show that they actually lowered his PRA. Yesterday it was like 23.5, and then he hit. Today it's at 22.5 to start, and this is a number that is pretty live in a game that has a 230 total with his expected minutes being what they are. So I do like the 22.5 PRA yet again for McCall Bridges. Edwards or Kuzma today? I think Kuzma for floor, Edwards for ceiling. Neither one of them make me warm and fuzzy. Stay away from Kuzma. Screwed me a couple times. I looking at the last Kuzma game against the Nets, that was certainly one of the least expected ranges of outcomes. But if we put a little humanistic interpretation into the mix, right? Last game before the All-Star break, it's the last day of school. You're ready to phone it in. It was game 3 in 4 nights. Night 2 of a back-to-back. Game 5 in 6 nights. So there was reason for him to be dead-legged and maybe soured the expectation, but we can't ignore the 40 to 50 plus fantasy point potential that he has, and then how much opportunity we're going to have going forward without Porzingis, and then we still have the no Dinwiddie, no Beal benefit. So I wouldn't throw in the towel on Kuzma just yet, but I understand why you would be a little hesitant. Obviously, I think his price is appropriate, weighing his floor and ceiling expected outcomes. We have, what do we got? 2 games left on the docket, 320. We're pacing good. We're doing all right. Chat, if you guys just want to continue the grind after this stream, I'll be live in the RunDFS.com. I'll be in the RunDFS.com Discord following the stream. I hang out in the voice chat right on here, NBA voice chat, and then we'll be making my player pool. I'll be setting my exposures. My boy Josh will be tidying up the prop detector tab in the RunDFS.com spreadsheet. So if you guys want to get access to my projections, the player prop projections, our favorite prop picks, favorite exposures. Yesterday I debuted my exposure levels for Fanduel and DraftKings specifically. So something new that we did. Usually I list, tier 1s, 2s, 3s. But a lot of people were like, well, how much do you actually have? Blah, blah, blah. So I set it to where I can upload my CSV when I'm done setting my numbers, and I'll show you guys exactly how much I currently have of whatever, and also the caps that I set. So for example, and this was before late swaps. I did do some late swaps after lock. I'm not going to upload the CSV every time because Watford had to come down on that once we didn't get him started. And Gary Payton, I think I came down on him a little bit, but you'll see where I'm ending at lock. And I think today's going to be a little bit more fluid just because of 4 games happening at 7 versus yesterday one game at 7. So if you guys want access to all that, and then most importantly the Discord, go to rundfs.com, click VIP memberships, find something that's right for you, maybe jump on that week pass, see what you like. Everything comes with a voucher towards a Fantasy Cruncher subscription. So if you guys do want to enter the land of MME, if you have some optimizer questions, obviously I'm not Cruncher support, but I can, as somebody that uses Fantasy Cruncher, can tell you how I achieve whatever you're trying to achieve, or if you just have some general questions, I can maybe help you along your way. Next game on the docket, Mavericks and the Utah Jazz. Project starting 5 for the Mavs: Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Dwight Powell taking on Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Bojan Bogdanovic, Royce O'Neal, and Rudy Gobert. We got 216.5 total. 5.5 point spread favor the home team, Utah Jazz. Jazz at home, usually a problem, and usually a spot I typically avoid, and maybe I'll use that as an opportunity to fade this game. Mavericks hosting the lowest pace in all of basketball, and then Utah, a little bit more league average here. Offensive efficiency, Utah, they have it. They have the best offensive rating in all of basketball, while having a top 10 defensive rating, and the Dallas Mavericks offensive rating, a little bit more league average here, life without Porzingis, but their defensive rating really doggone good here. So certainly stands to reason that, off the All-Star break here, Mavericks might be ready for this game, but it is going to be somewhat of an uphill battle. 11.2K Luka on Fanduel to 12K on DK in competitive games has shown a 60 to 70 fantasy point potential. We look in his recent game log, even with Dinwiddie lately on the roster, and games that have stayed close enough to give him 38 plus minutes, or high 30s and minutes, 80. There's a 45 against Miami. Miami's one of the best defenses in the league when they're full strength, 70, 60. So perhaps some of these are against more porous defenses, right? A little bit convenient or inconvenient for game log watchers, depending on the results tonight. But no one's stunned if Luka comes out with a top 3 fantasy score tonight. I do think I'm going to be on the opposite side of Luka today, unless he comes at single-digit ownership, and I feel like there's no reason not to get to single-digit ownership on Luka. I feel like I'm going to be putting money like that into LeBron James for $1,000 less in some spots, and just kind of attacking games that feel a little bit more lucrative. But I don't think there's a wrong way to approach Luka here. So I would say if he comes in at 15% or less, which I don't know that he would, I would probably get to some Luka. But for the most part, I think this game's going to be one that I'm going to be somewhat out on. But Luka and Jalen Brunson would be the two guys I did target on Dallas. And then the Utah side, we talked about Donovan Mitchell's recent stretch of 40-plus fantasy point games. At these prices on FanDuel and DK, that's what you need. Their offense has been pretty good, pretty strong. And then Rudy Gobert, now that he's kind of rehabbed a little bit, got a little bit of break in between his last game to tonight. Does Rudy Gobert go back to 15-15, 20-20 potential? Maybe. I think generally, though, this might be one of the games that I'm down on, right? Big slates, there's a couple games I X out. If I miss out on the slate breaker from this game, then I'm probably going to miss out on it, because I do like some of the upcoming names, and of course a lot of the preceding names that we talked about pretty strong as well, right? Conley looks interesting. You think so, Nightmare? I think Conley's fine, but I never expect much more than 30 minutes from him night to night, especially when Mitchell's around. They got Jordan Clarkson. They're building up a decent rotation there. So I don't really get to him like with a high level of confidence, but certainly I think per minute he's been just fine. But I'll talk about the Clippers and Lakers game. Could be really fun for fantasy. But I do think that's a game that you're going to have to be prepared to late swap on. And that's going to be an island game an hour after this Utah game. And if you weren't into this Utah game, that game is really just the Suns after the T-Wolves game locks. And but I think the Lakers will offer a lot of potential upside here, and maybe some run back. What up, Brendan? What up, Conscious? You guys doing all right? Avija over Kuzma. Hey man. Hey. That's why I say hey man. Nice shot. Guys, you guys hit that thumbs up yet? Do what the thing says. Like, subscribe, hit the noti bell. We are grinding towards 7K subs right here on this channel. Where are we at right now? We started at 65.49 before the PrizePicks stream, and right now we're at 65.56. So we picked up 7 subs along the way. Shout out to all the new subs. But if you are out there lurking, you're watching, you like DFS content, you like PrizePicks content, hit that sub button, man. It's gonna help us out. And if you are already subbed, you can still help out the channel by interacting and engaging with the video, hitting the thumbs up, all that good stuff. Goes a long way. We are at 65 likes at 184. That ratio is not going to work. That ratio, you guys, 100 likes is nothing to legends like you. So hit that thumbs up, man. I'm begging you. Do you think Bamba is good standing with price tag 4,500 on Fanduel, or do you think between Sengun, Wood, and Zubac? I love Mo Bamba. I only put him at 25 minutes, and I got a 30 fantasy point projection. I'll take that at 4,500, yes, sir. And then if we can stretch that 25 minutes to even more, absolutely think Bamba could be a massive player. If you told me Bamba was in line for 30 minutes tonight, Bamba might be my highest owned player. So love Mo Bamba as a play. It does come down to what you are comfortable with putting his minute expectation at, but I expect him to be over a point per minute in a matchup like the Houston Rockets, who, as we said, allow a top 3 amount of blocks per game. And that's right up Mo Bamba's alley, who is a guy that plays 25 minutes more than he plays 30 minutes. He's averaging almost 2 blocks per game as is, you know? So big spot. Big spot. I hit like harder than Raj hits on dudes. Wait, let me do my Raj impression. None of that. Shout out to Elton John, though. That's my Raj. Clippers at the Lakers. Last game on the docket. Project starting 5 for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson, Terrence Mann, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Ivica Zubac taking on Russell Westbrook, Malik Monk, LeBron James, Stanley Johnson, Dwight Howard, maybe 221.5 total, 1.5 point spread. Fair to the Lakers. Clippers, big road stretch here, going all the way to the crypto center. Clippers without Norman Powell. This has been kind of the look we've gotten from them in the last couple games, which has heightened usage and permanent production for Reggie Jackson, who I'm getting a 40-plus fantasy point projection on FanDuel at under 7K. I might be a buyer in that as a late-night hammer. Marcus Morris, somebody I can get to for 30-plus fantasy points. Everyone else kind of tertiary, where I can get them in the player pool, maybe Terrence Mann here and there. But I think Reggie and Marcus Morris, but specifically Reggie, is my favorite per-minute play, perhaps my favorite floor-to-ceiling guy. On PrizePicks, what did we get for a Reggie line? Reggie's at 35 fantasy points, and I got him at 40. So a little plus minus to 5, little margin. I can take that on the Lakers side. So guys, there's a couple of different scenarios, a couple different lineups for Vogel's Lakers here. No Anthony Davis, we know. Carmelo's probable. LeBron James probable, right? So we could get that lineup where LeBron James plays the 5, which was a lineup that they said was matchup based. So do you think LeBron versus Zubac's a matchup they like, just to get another offensive guy on the court, and Carmelo Anthony over Stanley Johnson, or even just Carmelo Anthony over Dwight Howard? You know what I mean? So I do think there's a couple of lineups that happen here. No matter what the lineup is, LeBron James looks like one of the more elite plays on the slate. My early projection basically said that I'm dumb if I don't play LeBron James. So I can't argue with that. 62.7 fantasy points, which is 4 points higher than Luka's projection, 5 points higher than Joel Embiid's projection. Yeah, we'll tighten the screws a little bit as the slate, as we get closer to lock here, but it's just hard not to see LeBron James leading the team in minutes, leading the team in usage, and it's just a massive spot here. So LeBron James, could we get to tier 1 levels of LeBron James tonight? Very possible. I am wondering if guys like Devin Booker get in the way of LeBron James being appropriately owned based on at least my median projection. But this season, with LeBron James on the court, Anthony Davis off the court, LeBron has a usage rate of 32% with a 1.5 fantasy point per minute production. It doesn't really change much when you add Westbrook on, but the 32% assist rate is something that is very, very notable for me as well. If I put Westbrook on in this split just to kind of get a more isolated look, we get down to a 27% assist rate on LeBron, but I feel like if we move it to January 1 and beyond, where Westbrook's slump was being a little bit more evident, we might get a higher number on no, we don't. LeBron's still at 24-25. So, the pushback there is Westbrook has been a little bit of a in the doghouse lately. So, I think what I want to believe in, at least for lines that are most attackable, is 7 assists for LeBron. I feel like that's low enough. With that said, I also think Reggie Jackson defense is porous enough that a 7K Russell Westbrook might enter the chat with a week off to think about things. Maybe I'm a Russell Westbrook apologist, but maybe I'm just liking the spot this matchup. Of Westbrook's assist prop, I think, is lower than LeBron's at 6.5. He's also at 30.5 PRA, a number that he has gotten you a chance at. And then, if we boost him a little bit more without Anthony Davis, I might be interested. 36 fantasy points. My heart is literally bleeding right now. This is bad. I have him at 50. Guys, stop me. Somebody stop me. Right? 36 fantasy points on Russell Westbrook against Reggie Jackson. It comes down to him playing 26 minutes because he turned the ball over 8 times. But my goodness, are we getting some opportunities here? That feels like a Taco Tuesday, right? Oof, man. Oof. Is there anybody else out there that wants to play some Westbrook tonight? That Westbrook fantasy point line is so different from my projection, man. How that's 14. God dang it. What up, Adam? How them tonsils doing, bro? Feels like a lock button and beat on Fanduel anyway. You think so? So on Fanduel, if I prioritize Devin Booker and LeBron James, I could see that odd man outing Embiid. I will say Embiid does look like he is the strongest pay-up option for bigs. But with that said, there's some mid-tier and potential value guys. And I know we're looking at DK, but Wendell Carter, Mo Bamba. I do have a hanker for Darius Bazley. I said it. I think Derek Favors gets rolled out in an hour or two. And then Bazley could go to the 32, 40, 35 minute against that Pacers wing and front court, right? So Embiid is the strongest pay-up option, but I can see myself not paying up that much, right? Lorenzo says, I'm playing Russ tonight. I believe it will turn out. Let's go, Russ. He has to get 44 fantasy points to cover because he's going to have 8 turnovers. Yeah, but what about the PRA, though, right? We can eliminate the... So, with Westbrook, I don't think he's a big steal guy, right? Not one steal. Not enough to offset the turnovers. So if you wanted to get rid of the fantasy points and the Rondo-esque 6 turnovers, maybe you get the 30.5 PRA. And if you think he turns the ball over 6 times, that in itself is essentially getting you there. So if you like that, maybe go the PRA for Westbrook. That's probably the better route. Stop it. I can't do it, bro. They played him twice this year, and Wesley was playing good, and then he sucked both games. I'm out on that. I mean, the Clippers are a little bit different team, but I understand it. Westbrook has certainly kind of earned some of the disdain that he has. So I'm not, I'm the high guy on Westbrook because I'm a fan, but I get it. But if you're down on Westbrook, you gotta be high on LeBron. So seven assists seems like a line that we should take. I said on the PrizePicks stream I'd be interested in anything below 7.5 or at 7.5. So them giving me 7, I feel like at worst we're getting a push there. If we get the normal LeBron, and then 10 plus assists is very, very live, right? Like Monk tonight for the Lakers. I think for me it's going to come down to what the Lakers starting lineup actually is. like I said, the Dwight Howard could start for 10, 15 minutes total, and then they quickly go to 30 minutes of Carmelo. Do they ease Melo back into the mix? Do they get spunky and use DeAndre Jordan? It's a lot of unknowns, so lot to process there. But I do like Reggie. And yeah, so that is our slate here. You guys got any lasting questions, comments, concerns? Looks like we're going to be back tomorrow. I think so, around 2 p.m. We've been doing another Saturday stream. We had some time off. 81 likes, though. I think you guys can crush it and hit 20 of you guys to the official Cleese channel. I appreciate that. Appreciate that sub. Welcome to the channel. However, 80 smashed both games, so we put LBJ at the 5. Oh boy, yeah. That's why I was saying maybe be on your toes for late swap. But I don't think I don't need LeBron James at the 5 to play LeBron James tonight. I think no matter what, it's going to profile as a massive usage guy that should crush it no matter what. It's just what happens to the rest of who else benefits in that minute split, right? Hey, if you're on Twitter, twitter.com/Gundacker. I'm on Twitter. You give me that follow. I'm not really a milestone guy, but I think I'm a couple away from either 2,000 or 3,000, one of those two. So if you want a nice even number next to my name, go follow me on Twitter. That'd be lit. What up? Edzik Scream says, Lakers fans know I don't like LeBron. I mean, LeBron's the GOAT, right? Westbrook showing up a lot on Optimizer for Fanduel. He's just so cheap. It's hard for any projection system to not be high on Westbrook. It just comes down to matter of minutes. Obviously, for real life, he has a lot of problems. For 7K, he doesn't have to do a whole lot. And if models are like mine, where you're getting almost a 50 fantasy point projection at 7K, that's gonna be hard to pass up. So $1,500 discount to DK. Obviously, the turnovers are a problem for him. But man, 7K is 7K, and certainly feels like he had plenty of time to get right or get motivated, right? Jim says, thoughts on Burks? So, Jim, I've been kind of settling on the idea that I'm just going to full fade that game. Two of the bottom 3 teams in pace, not a high implied total. Certainly understand the thought of Alec Burks. They seem to be moving on again from Kemba Walker. RJ Barrett's back in the mix. I don't really know what to take away from it, but I do know that this game should be very slow paced and that the Miami Heat are a strong defense and hard to get off against. So I'm probably not going to be that there on Burks or any player from the game, but especially the Lakers, the Knicks side, right? What were your thoughts on Trey Mann? I missed that game. So Trey Mann played 30 minutes last night. He closed out, and they went to, I think, Baisley at the 5. So I thought that if you're looking for a little bit of value that might be under the radar, 5K, not so much the 6.4K on FanDuel, but 5K on DK could be enough that if you curtain call a 30 fantasy point game, that'd be cool stocking stuffer to have in your back pocket. So I don't hate it. I don't like Terrence Mann either. Anything else in chat? Like among we got that Lakers fan. Okay. People in here yesterday talking about how Anthony Edwards kills Memphis. He completely sucked. Come on, Sean. Sean, weren't you in here dogging me for having Devin Booker on the cover? You're like, oh, he's going to be chalk. He's going to be trash. So if you're going to come in here trying to hand out L's, Sean, here's one for you. You doubted the greatness of Devin Booker. Chat, that's going to do it. We'll be back tomorrow, but I'm headed into the RunDFS.com NBA VIP Discord. If you guys want into that, go to RunDFS.com. Get yourself a membership. When you do, click VIP portal. There'll be a link to the spreadsheet, link to the Discord, and then in the Discord is the NBA voice channel. And then you also get news. Rondo's out for 2 weeks. Please, Garland, come back. He's out for Saturday. Karis LeVert, trap game. Let's go. Maybe Brandon Goodwin, right? Edwards, DLS, the champs. Appreciate that sub. I appreciate you guys, man. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. I just froze. I love you guys. Appreciate making part of my day, part of your day. Crazy world out there. Thoughts, positive vibes. Tell somebody you love them. I love you guys. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.